Emma was from France and Lucas was from Canada. They both traveled to Japan for their final year of university. Because of an unexpected housing problem, they had to rent the same apartment, but in different rooms. The apartment had only 2 rooms and a shared living space. When Emma first saw that her housemate was a man, she was uncomfortable. "Oh no, this is a mistake. I can't live with a stranger, especially a man," she muttered, dragging her suitcase back toward the door. "Wait, I think there's been some confusion," Lucas said, looking just as surprised. "I was told my roommate would be another student." Emma tried to find another place to stay, but everything was either too expensive or too far from the university. In the end, she had no choice but to stay. Emma and Lucas were very busy. They had to study hard for their exams and work part-time jobs to pay for their living expenses. They barely spoke to each other and kept to themselves. Their schedules were different, and they mostly communicated through notes left on the fridge about cleaning duties or grocery lists. One night, very late, Emma had a terrible stomach ache. She felt very sick because of food poisoning. She was in so much pain that she could not move. Clutching her stomach, she staggered toward Lucas's door and knocked weakly. "Lucas, help me," she whispered before collapsing. Lucas opened the door and saw Emma leaning against the wall, her face pale. Without hesitation, he grabbed his phone and called an ambulance. At the hospital, the doctor needed someone to sign some papers. Emma had no family there, so Lucas signed the papers for her. He stayed by her bedside the whole night. The next morning, Emma woke up feeling weak but much better. She turned her head and saw Lucas sitting beside her, half asleep in the chair. "You stayed," she said softly. Lucas opened his eyes and smiled. "Of course. You were alone. Someone had to take care of you." Emma felt a warm feeling in her chest. She had never expected him to be so kind. They finally introduced themselves properly and exchanged phone numbers. When Emma left the hospital, she wanted to thank Lucas. That evening, she prepared a homemade dinner for him. "You didn't have to do this," Lucas said as he sat at the table. "I wanted to," Emma replied. "You saved me last night. This is my way of saying thank you." Lucas took a bite of the food and his eyes widened. "Wow, this is amazing. You're a great cook." Emma smiled. It was the first time they had sat down and talked like real housemates. They talked about their studies, their part-time jobs, and their dreams after graduation. From that day, they sent each other messages every night. It became a habit. On weekends, Lucas cooked breakfast and made coffee for Emma. "You always cook for me, so it's my turn now," he said one morning, handing her a cup of coffee. Emma took a sip and smiled. "This is actually pretty good. I didn't know you could make coffee like this." Lucas grinned. "There's a lot you don't know about me yet." As time passed, Lucas started to worry whenever Emma came home late. When she was not home by her usual time, he found himself checking his phone every few minutes. "Why am I so anxious?" he wondered. He tried to focus on his studies, but his mind was somewhere else. One rainy evening, Emma walked in, drenched from head to toe. "You forgot your umbrella again?" Lucas asked, handing her a towel. "Maybe I just like the rain," she joked. Lucas shook his head. "You'll get sick. Next time, text me. I'll bring you an umbrella." Slowly their feelings grew. They became closer, But soon it was time for graduation. They had to return to their own countries. The thought of being apart scared them. On the day they said goodbye, Lucas finally confessed. "Emma, I like you. A lot. I don't want this to end here." Emma hesitated. "Lucas, I feel the same way, but I don't know what will happen in the future." They made a promise. Whoever could not stand the distance first would travel to the other person's country. After returning home, life was different. Emma started working in a big company in Paris. Lucas also found a job in Toronto. They continued sending messages every night, but something was missing. Emma tried to move on. Her friends introduced her to a few potential partners, but after a couple of dates, she always felt something was off. No one made her laugh like Lucas. No one made her feel truly understood. Lucas, on the other hand, reconnected with an old girlfriend. At first, it was nostalgic, but after a few conversations, he realized how much they had changed. Their lives had moved in completely different directions. Months passed. Emma and Lucas tried to convince themselves that they were fine, that they were adjusting, but every night, there was an emptiness neither could ignore. 6 months after their return, Lucas sat alone in his apartment, staring at his phone. "I can't do this anymore," he said to himself. He booked a flight to France. When Emma walked out of her office a few days later, she saw a familiar figure standing outside. "Lucas," she gasped. Lucas smiled. "Surprise. I couldn't stay away any longer." Emma ran to him and hugged him tightly. "I missed you so much." That evening, they went to dinner together. Lucas held Emma's hand. "I don't want to be apart anymore. I want to be with you." Emma looked into his eyes and realized she felt the same way. "Then stay. We'll figure everything out together." Lucas decided to find a job in France. He wanted to be close to Emma. She promised to support him. They were finally together again, not just as housemates, but as two people in love, ready to build a future side by side.